Well, good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Tuesday, September 26th, the 269th day of 2023. Leading off the headlines this morning, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley and Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin on Monday introduced the Protecting Future Farmland Act. The new legislation supports farmers' land stewardship efforts as many choose to deploy solar energy on their land. The legislation will ensure that federal investment in rural energy projects prioritizes both land stewardship and responsible deployment of renewable energy to protect America's farmlands for future cultivation. We must be certain that embracing solar energy doesn't damage our most valuable commodity, our rich Iowa soil, Grassley said. Baldwin, a Wisconsin Democrat, added, "We need to support our farmers' land stewardship efforts and help them protect the farmland that is critical to the future of our rural economies and national food security." Agricultural landowners are increasingly interested in using their land for solar energy production. About 83% of new solar projects are installed on farmland and ranch land, with about 50% placed on the most productive, versatile, and resilient land. We'll hope to renew the Black Sea Grain Initiative has all but vanished in the wake of Russia's latest strikes on Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa and Ukraine's strike against Russia's naval fleet in Crimea. Deadly Russian drone and missile strikes in Ukraine's port and granaries at Odessa following Ukraine's strike on Russia's Black Sea fleet have all but ended hopes of reviving the Black Sea grain deal anytime soon. Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, told reporters at the UN through a translator Friday export corridors are no longer viable.
Those corridors were used several times to launch UAVs over the maritime space in order to carry out strikes on Russian ships. And we issued warnings several times, and those warnings were not heeded.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative has been a global food and fertilizer lifeline for more than a year, but Lavrov charges the deal's promises to Russia for sanctions relief were not upheld.
We have not seen our main agricultural bank return to the SWIFT system, nor have we seen a solution to allow Russia's unimpeded access to ports in the Mediterranean and others.
But Russia has attacked Ukraine's grain industry for months, increasing assaults as the summer harvest season ended and farmers tried to ship grain to needy developing countries and others. USDA Chief Economist Seth Meyer told this year's Ag Outlook Forum,
Black Sea Grain Initiative has been really critical for those folks in Ukraine to achieve grain exports. If the Black Sea Grain Initiative does not continue, they will have to rationalize production further down. The Black Sea Grain Initiative is serving a very important purpose to get that product out and moderate global grain prices.
But the grain deal's lapse this summer forced Ukraine to use more expensive overland routes, resisted by close neighbors fearing competition with local farmers and dangerous sea routes. Well, with the potential federal government shutdown looming, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack says a government shutdown would affect millions of Americans. More from USDA Radio's Gary Crawford.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack was Ag Secretary back in 2013 when there was a lengthy government shutdown.
And I remember then the needless challenges and disruption that it caused.
And Vilsack told reporters at the White House Monday it would be the same if we have another shutdown.
We're looking at a significant disruption of the lives of millions of Americans.
He said millions of mothers and children who depend on the USDA's Women, Infants, and Children's Nutrition Program would see those benefits stop almost immediately. The SNAP program would cut off after a month. And for farmers...
Now is a time when farmers are harvesting their crops, and they're seeking marketing loans, which allow them and assist them in ensuring that they get a decent price for their crop. When we have a shutdown, Farm Service Agency offices in virtually every county of this country shut down, and those loans are not available.
Which in some cases could cause some family farms to go out of business. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Vilsack went on to talk further about the impact a government shutdown would have specifically on the USDA.
We have a presence in every county in the country. So it's going to impact and affect literally every county in the country. It's FSA offices, it's rural development offices, it's NRCS conservation employees, it's some of the Forest Service employees, it's a lot of the researchers and people who work for the Agricultural Research Service, ARS. It's administrative staff. You can have people working on the job, but if you don't have the administrative people behind it, the job doesn't get done. It's incredibly disruptive. Incredibly disruptive.
Well, the harvest of corn and soybeans are running only slightly ahead of average. Here once again to tell us why is Gary Crawford.
As we start this week, USDA is reporting 70% of the nation's corn crop is fully mature and ready to harvest. But growers have only cut about 15% of that corn. The crop has matured a little earlier than usual. And on the surface, then you would think the harvest number would be a little higher than it is. But USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says, of course, producers know exactly what they're doing.
With generally favorable conditions in the field and relatively dry conditions in many areas, it's a good incentive this year just to leave the corn and the soybeans out there to dry down naturally. That means you don't have to pay for propane down the road. So I think that's what a lot of producers are, just waiting for that moisture content to come down before harvest.
So they've harvested 15% of corn, 12% of the soybeans. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
And finally this morning, the Iowa Pork Producers Association has inked what may be the nation's most clever name, image, and likeness deal in all of college sports. It entered into a partnership with Iowa State University football players Miles Purchase, Tyler Moore, Tommy Hammond, and Caleb Bacon to create the Purchase More Ham and Bacon campaign. Iowa is the #1 state in the nation for pork production, and nearly 150,000 Iowans are employed by the pork industry. October is National Pork Month, also known as Porktober, and the promotion will be a part of that celebration. The Iowa Pork Producers Association will run ads on social media featuring the four players surrounded by Iowa pork, strategically using their names to encourage pork consumption. In conjunction with the NIL partnership, the Iowa Pork Producers Association will donate $1,000 of pork to each player's food pantry of choice. Well, you can keep up with the latest in the ag industry by following the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you award-winning agriculture programming as well as the best in traditional country music mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go this harvest season. We'll get you through those long, challenging days this fall. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report here on Steve Shetler Media. Make it a great day, everybody.